Blocking everyone's view back there. Actually, no, usually it's Reilly. It's not usually no, Reilly's just Reilly. My ears are usually blocked.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. What a great turnout, all your support. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Reilly, and I'm the Assemblyman for the 62nd Assembly District on the South Shore of Staten Island. It is with a heavy heart that we stand before you today with Josette Carter Williams and Lewis Carter to speak about the killer of their beloved NYPD police officer, Gerard Carter. Officer Carter was a husband, a father, and a friend to many. He was a respected member of the NYPD and a true hero to his community. Gang member Shatik Johnson brutally took the life of a brave and dedicated public servant who devoted his career to protecting the citizens of New York City. His death has left a hole in the hearts of Josette, their son Lewis, all those who knew him, and in the fabric of our city. Shatik Johnson, who took the lives of others in addition to police officer Gerard Carter, is now up for parole. He has shown no remorse for his heinous crime. He has shown no understanding of the gravity of his actions and the impact it has had on Officer Carter's family, friends, and the community. It is imperative that justice be served and that Shatik Johnson remain behind bars. He is a danger to society and should not be given the opportunity to harm anyone else. I urge you to join me in contacting the parole board and expressing your opposition to the release of this killer. Let us stand together in honor of Officer Carter and ensure that his memory and sacrifice is not in vain. I'd like to introduce Josette Carter Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mike had one page, and apparently I have about 2 pages, 3, so I'm sorry for it.
Bring it, Josette.
Okay. I first want to begin by thanking our New York City rep, Mike Reilly, for the work he does for Staten Island and especially our family. Mike, I also want to thank you for putting this together in a matter of literally 2 weeks. When I reached out to Mike after I found out and I received my letter, I reached out to him to talk to him, and it was really funny because, he said, Josette, I'm absolutely behind you, and we're gonna get this together. And he tried to call me, and I just answered the phone, and I was in hysterics, and I felt so bad because he was like, okay, I'll call you later. But and after that, I just texted him and I said, I'm really, really sorry, but right now I can't talk. So Mike, I really love you. This is the first time that we actually really got together to meet, and I think he's amazing. So please, everyone, support him as much as you can because he's an amazing person. I also want to thank every one of our local politicians who are here today. I thank you all so much. I know Mike, called everyone, and this is really, a hard time right now, and all of you have your work that needs to be done, so I thank you for being here and joining us in our fight for justice. I want to thank our NYPD family for always having our back, especially when we needed the most. Chief Kenneth Corey came today. I love him so much. He's retired now, and he just came to support us. He always does. Community fairs, Chief Yee unfortunately cannot be here. He's also a big supporter of ours, and I want to thank him so much for everything that he does. To the PBA, Pat Lynch, thank you for supporting and representing our amazing officers. To amazing family and friends, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. To my Kiwanian brother, the Honorable Mike Brennan, words can't express the love I have for you. And to my Kiwanis family, I love you all. Judge Brennan was the first one to put this guy behind bars, so, he was the one, the preliminary judge. And I also have David Lair. Unfortunately, Assistant DA Tim Colo could not be here today. I love you both. You did an amazing job during the time when we needed you to. There needs to be a change. When there is a blatant disrespect of power, a blatant disrespect for human life, a disrespect for each other, and a disrespect for victims, then it is time for a change. A change of laws, a change in how we think, a change in how we act, a change in how we love. We as Americans need to stand together, stand for what is right, and stand in unity and with pride. I ask you, when did we lose sight of fighting for what is right, standing for our victims? When did a criminal have more rights than we do? We have to unite intelligently to help change our laws, change the age restriction for known violent criminals, change the parole process, along with the amount of time given after the denial of release, change the way we deal with incarcerated minors. Rehabilitation is key at a young age, an age where minors can be cared for and molded. Time and time again, we fail our minors and it needs to stop. Gerard's killer may have had a chance at 15, but we failed him as a society. When he killed a homeless man for a measly $10, what did we do? We sent him to a juvenile facility and left him there with no rehabilitation, no help. There was no justice. After 18 months, he was released and killed 2 more times. Instead, we lost a good man, an honest man, someone who loved, someone who cared deeply about his family, someone who loved his job of protecting his city and was a role model for his community children. Gerard's killer is lost. There is no help for him. He is 41 and cannot possibly be a positive contributor to our society. But what can we do is save Gerard's legacy, his dignity, his memory, and most of all, his sacrifice for the very city that he loved. Help us keep his killer behind bars. I do not say his name. I will never say his name. You will never catch me saying his name because he does not deserve his name coming out of my mouth, my son's lips, anyone. It is our duty to do so, as it was Gerard's duty to protect us all. We must protect our communities, protect our babies, protect our moms and dads. So please take the time out to go onto the PBA website, fill out the pre-filled petition under Gerard's name to keep his killer in jail, to continue to serve his life imprisonment. I want to end this with a huge thank you to DA McMahon and Assistant DA Tim Kohler for all the hard work that they do for the Carter family, to Senator Jessica Staten, Rebecca, Marco Soler, who is the Deputy Secretary of Safety for the Governor, Vontae Ogunye, who is the Initiatives Manager of Neighborhood Safety for the Mayor's Office, my friend, deep friend, Saquana Johnson, Chairwoman of the P.O. Gerard Carter Foundation. I want to thank you all for supporting me during this time and for fighting for us to have an in-person parole hearing. I am excited to announce that these people helped make that happen. So my date is for March 3rd. I love you all. Can't wait to be heard. As I always say, it takes a village. Lastly, in the words of President Obama, change will not come if we wait for other people, or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. Thank you all again, and God bless us all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Gerard's son Lewis is here as well, and Lewis doesn't want to speak, but as you know, his heart is heavy, but is filled seeing all of you, all your support. You know, the men and women in the police department, my brothers and sisters. You know, I was fortunate enough to wear this uniform. And when we lose one of our brothers and sisters, we lose a part of ourselves. So with that, I would like to introduce Councilman David Carr.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to extend my support and friendship to Suzette and Lewis and all of the late Officer Carter's family and loved ones. I want to thank Assemblyman Michael Reilly for his leadership in organizing this today, to all of those in law enforcement, those in labor leadership, and all those who have been supporting Officer Carter's family today and for many years now. The fact is, we shouldn't have to be here. Officer Carter was a hero. Officer Carter was someone who was a model police officer. He was a dedicated husband and father and family member and friend. He was everything that anyone in this community could ever want from one of its own. And he was one of our own. And he was robbed from his family. He was robbed from a profession that needed him and that he loved and was dedicated to. He was robbed from Staten Island by an assassin, by a thug, by a criminal. I'm not going to follow Giusette's lead and not mention his name. But the law is cruel. The law requires that we go through this every 2 years and relive the agony that Gisette and all of Officer Carter's loved ones must be feeling. We shouldn't have to do it, but we're going to do it because we have to. Because this person forsook their humanity long ago, and they do not deserve to return to civilized society and walk among us as a free person. And that's why we're all here today, and that's why we're gonna fight this fight every 2 years until we've won it. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here for Gisette and her family, and may we win the day, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Camilla Hanks.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for coming here today. Ms. Josette, you said, I'd like to thank the elected officials because you know that we have work to do. I just want to let you know, you are our work. This is the work. This is the work. We stand united in our position, in our opposition to the parole of the unnamed in respect of the family. This person responsible for the tragic death of police officer Gerard Carter, a beloved husband, father, son, and brother. This convicted felon and gang member was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison and will be eligible in March of this year. Police officer Carter left behind a devastated family, including a 6-year-old son, Lewis, who is now grown up without the love and guidance of his dad. The entire community feels Gerard Carter's loss, and granting parole to this killer would only add insult to injury. The idea of releasing this person back into society is an affront to justice and a threat to public safety. It sends the message that violent crime will not be taken seriously and that perpetrators who commit these crimes will be given a second chance to cause harm to others. We all here stand together with my colleagues in government, the men and women who put on a uniform every day to protect us. We stand with you against this statement of violence and deny this person's release. The memory of Gerard Carter deserves to be honored, and his family deserves to have a peace of mind. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your incredible family and strength. We appreciate you. Thank you.
New York City Council Minority Leader Joe Reilly.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Gisette, for honoring us.
If this parole is granted, he whose name we will not mention will be the 36th person. The 36th person to be released on parole who was convicted in connection with killing a cop since 2010. This is not a one-off problem. This is a systemic problem. In 2010, Governor Cuomo started changing the parole board. He started putting these woke people on the board. 35 people who have been convicted of robbing the life of a father, a mother, a member of a community. Not just the NYPD, from here to Buffalo to Watertown. 35 families around New York have to live knowing every single day that some animal is out on the streets while their family member, their neighborhood cop, their friend, their pal, their coworker is in the ground somewhere. If we call that justice, we don't know what justice is. If we call that a society, we can't. Because the society that puts lawlessness over law is no society at all. So it stops at 35. We're here to tell Governor Hochul to rein in this parole board. There are plenty of people who deserve redemption. There are plenty of people who deserve second chances. There are plenty of people who deserve to be paroled, but not the people who kill our police officers. Not them now, not them ever. I wasn't there in 1998. I was young. And I know the commitment that most of you made. You went up to her and you said, we're going to be there for you. And here we are, 25 years later, living up to that commitment. So I also want to thank so many of you for coming out. So many who knew him, so many who were involved, so many who were there, and so many who weren't. Because it's important we always remember that if this happens again, and it will, someone else will pick up this mantle and be there for the next cop who dies in the line of duty. But thank you all. I appreciate what Mike did to put this all together. I appreciate your advocacy for all these years. And if we have to come back in 2 years, we will. And if we have to come back in 4 years, we will. But I just hope Governor Hochul changes things, and that's not a risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Now I'd like to introduce Assemblyman Michael Tanusis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to Assemblyman Reilly for organizing this. Let's go into the facts of what occurred here. This was a situation where an adult, an 18-year-old, rolled up to a marked police van and shot Officer Carter in cold blood. And not only that, he was previously convicted of murdering another individual. And all these years later, from 1998 up until now, this poor widow and her son have to relive this tragedy as they run the risk of this individual being released into the public. We are at war in this state. We are at war between common sense and lunacy. And at some point, it has to end. Look around here to these uniformed police officers who put their lives on the line every single day to protect you. Look at the elected officials that are here. Bipartisan, I may add, standing up for common sense. When an adult male approaches a marked police car and shoots and kills a New York City police officer, he doesn't deserve to be released on parole. And today, I stand here today with my colleagues, with the police officers, with the police unions. Let me send a warning to the governor and to the parole board. You better do the right thing. You better do the right thing. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Next up, we have Senator Jessica Scarcella-Smith.
Thank you so much, everyone, for hosting this today, especially to our Assemblyman Mike Reilly, to all my colleagues, to the law enforcement standing here, and most importantly, to Gisette and her son. It is so critically important that when these things come up, we do not forget the victims of crime. So often, as we saw through this recent parole hearing, they wanted Gisette to submit her testimony via a piece of paper. That's not impactful. They need to take the victims seriously. They need to take the families of the victims seriously so that they can submit their testimony, and I'm so happy that you're going to be able to do that this March.
Thank you.
It's egregious that we have to stand here to fight for the justice that this family deserves. I am so glad to see the community come together. This is what Staten Island represents. And we are going to keep fighting for an officer who, as Councilmember Carr mentioned before, was a model officer. Someone that we should all emulate ourselves after. Someone who is a family man, a father, a son, a brother. We will never ever let his memory be forgotten, and if we have to keep fighting year after year, we will certainly do that. I'm proud to stand here with all my colleagues from each side of the aisle, with all of law enforcement, all the members of this community as you look around. We are united in making sure that this man does not get out, and that this family receives the justice that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Next up, District Attorney Michael McBain.
Thank you, Mike Reilly, and thank you for bringing us together, Josette and Louis, and please give our love to Martha. You know that we're here with you, and we'll stand with you throughout this. And Mike, I just have to correct you because you mentioned that when that shot rang out, it broke the heart of the men and women of the police department, and you were right. But it also broke the heart of the men and women of this community. For 25 years, our heart has been broken at the loss of Gerard Carter. He was indeed the model police officer. He really invented community policing before anybody knew about it. Ken Corey takes credit for community policing, but it was Gerard Carter who invented it. We know that.
I think Ken Corey's ever taken credit for that.
Also a model police officer, and is Ken Corey. We know that. And as that heart of the community broke 25 years ago, so many people rallied together and worked hard to make sure that justice was done. And in some way I represent them as your district attorney today. People like David Lair, who was the chief assistant, Bill Murphy, who was the DA at the time, Tim Kohler, who sends his love. He's in the city at a meeting of the State DA's Association so that I could be here, so he's working. Some of the detectives are here, Detectives Kilniak and Matei, and so many who were involved in the case, the arresting officers. Judge Michael Brennan, you mentioned him already, but he was the Iranian judge. Let's hear it for Judge Mike again. And in addition to the brothers and sisters in the police department, and the fire department, the men and women who keep us safe every day, you just see people, members of the community. Because, yeah, I know, it was a time that we were all heartbroken, and we came together then. And you know that we come together for you again in this moment. Imagine getting a letter from the parole board telling you that instead of following the schedule that they should and waiting the full 25 years, they're going to move it up almost a year, and telling her that she couldn't appear in person. And as she said, thank God that everybody came together, and we were happy to be able to at least allow you to testify before the parole board in person. We should be celebrating that. That's not a given. Where's your rights? Where's your due process? Where's the rights of the people of the community? Where's the rights of the victims of crime? Where are the rights of the individuals? I see so many families who lost a police officer, Maria Duzkowski, and the Lees, and so many people here. Give them a round of applause as well. My colleagues in elective office have already said it. Things are out of whack. The rights of the victims have been forgotten. The rights of the accused are paramount now to them. We see in our criminal justice system now, bail reform, juvenile justice, discovery, that's really tying the hands of those who are in law enforcement trying to keep you safe. And now we see this out of control parole board. As Joe Borelli said, 30 cop killers freed, or 35. This would be 36 since 2010. It's just too much. But we in Staten Island never give up. We never stop fighting. We never forget that Gerard Carter was a hero. We remember his legacy so well. His Carter Center lives on. You do so much with the Carter Foundation, and so many of you come out and do that work as well. And I just want you to know, on behalf of the men and women of the Richmond County District Attorney's Office, we will continue to do the work to make sure that victims are not forgotten, that the accused rights are protected, but they are also held accountable. And we will work together to make sure that this incredible injustice that looms before us does not happen. God bless you all. God bless the Carter family. And God bless the men and women of the police department, all our heroes out there every day in uniform. God bless the USA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deary. Next up, we have Assemblyman Charles Fall.
Thank you, Assemblymember, for putting this very important event together. You know, I look at this as a lens through a sun. You know, the fact that I have to stand here because of laws that have failed us. And one of the things that I'm committed to doing is making sure we have change in our state laws to make sure we don't have to stand here again. And I'm committed to work with all of my colleagues at the state level to ensure that we have results. I'm sorry we have to be here today. You have my commitment in delivering for you. When I think about the legacy that Police Officer Carter left behind, you see it in the street names that we have, you see it in the community centers. It speaks to what a great man he was to our community. And that's something we will never forget, and that's something that motivates me to ensure we have change in our system. So thank you, Assemblymember, for putting this together, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Next up, we have Assemblyman Reilly.
Good morning, everyone. Mike, I'd like to say thank you for putting this together. I'd like to say thank you for the NYPD and anyone who carries a badge to protect everybody. I am a new state legislator, but I want to let you know that I hear you very loud. And in some part, this is our responsibility. We're the ones who create these laws or change these laws up in Albany. And as you see here today, we have all heard what you say. This is terrible that we're here today. It will be even more terrible if we have to be back in 2 years and every 2 years after that. But if that's what's required, we will be back here to support you. So I just want you to know that yes, we do hear you. It is difficult, and we also need your support. So if anything you can do as far as this letter writing campaign to keep this killer in jail, please go ahead and do that. Reach out to whomever you feel you can. We really need to stop this from happening. I understand that we need to change the laws in Albany. I think we all understand that we need to do that, and it's my pledge to you today that that's what we will fight every day, not only for the rights of Staten Islanders and victims everywhere, but all of New York City and all of New York State needs this change. Basically, if when we look at history, everyone is concerned about how history will portray us. My fear is that this is really a form of genocide that we are committing against our own people. And in 10 years, 15 years, 20, 100 years, when we look back, this might become a dark chapter in the history of New York State. So I pledge, and I'm sure we all pledge to fight and make some changes. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry that I have to be here today.
Thank you, Sam. Next up, we have NYPD Chief Person from Patrol Borough, Staten Island.
Thank you. Almost 25 years ago, Officer Carter came to this very building we're standing in front of, put his uniform on, and went on patrol. Just like these police officers standing next to me did this morning. Officer Carter didn't return that day. In the days following his murder, the department made a pledge to his family that we would never forget. And today we continue to live that legacy. We stand here today in honor of his memory, committed to that pledge. The idea that someone who could take the life of a police officer would ever be allowed out of jail is something we can't allow. For his legacy and for the future police officers who will be coming on the job, to remember what Officer Carter meant to us in our community, to his family, we continue the pledge. We'll never forget it. I'll always be there to support him. So God bless.
Thank you, Chief. So with us today, and who carried the strongest message, I think, alongside the family, is the PBA, Patrolmen's Benevolent Association. I'd like to introduce Treasurer Pat Hendry.
Another hero family has to go through that sad ritual, reopening the wounds year after year, fearing that they're going to receive that dreaded letter that the man that took the husband, the father, the son might be back on the streets. That's a nightmare to any family of a victim. This isn't just any victim. This is a New York City police officer, and it's a nightmare for all of us. Our hero officer Gerard Carter, was assassinated for wearing a uniform of a New York City police officer. He died protecting the people here in Staten Island, where he lived and worked. He died for this city. That has to mean something. We have to protect those that keep New Yorkers safe. No parole for our murdered hero. No parole for his family. No parole for the assassin who killed a New York City police officer. The parole board needs to hear from you. Go on to our website, NYCPBA.org, and click on that site on our website, Keep Cop Killers in Jail. Fill out that petition. We're going to take those petitions and we're going to make sure we send a message to this parole board. Unfortunately, no matter how many messages we send to this parole board, they continue to let cop killers out. That's why we're here today, to get help from our elected leaders like Assemblymember Reilly and many others that are here today. Our parole board is broken. We have to fix its watered down standards. We need to appoint a parole commissioner that cares about justice, not about their own agenda. We need to push back against the legislative push to empty our prisons that puts criminals back on the street. That's our mission. That should be your mission. We're doing this for this family, and we're doing it for the city we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. So with us today is SBA President, Sergeants Benevolent Association, Benevolent. DEA, we have Representative Detective Jeff Ward. We have the LBA, Lieutenant Charlie Francis. We have members of the CEA here, the Captain's Endowment Association. And I'd like to introduce retired Chief of Department, Ken Corey.
You know, I never got the privilege to meet Gerard, but I know him. And I know him thanks to Josette and Louis and how much they speak of him. And I know that he was respected by the community that he served, his community. People in the neighborhood, people in the developments, they knew Gerard. They went to Gerard for help because they knew that Gerard would help them. Gerard mentored youth. He coached Little League. He tried to keep kids out of trouble. He was everything and more that we would want a police officer to be. Gerard was doing his job 25 years ago. Gerard was on patrol and never even got the opportunity to get out of his patrol car before he was shot through the windshield. And yet he fought. He fought for 5 days. He fought to live. He lost that fight. We pick up that fight. There is a social contract that exists that allows these officers to go out and put themselves in harm's way every night, to stand between us and those who would do us harm. And that is, if you take one of their lives, you forfeit your freedom forever, not 25 years. And the person who murdered Gerard beat a man to death over $10. He then shot another man 17 times. And then he executed Gerard as he sat in his patrol car. How could we even be standing here considering releasing him back into our community? Does anybody really believe he wouldn't murder again if he were given the opportunity? No parole. Josette, I will stand here with you every 2 years if that's what it takes to ensure that this individual never sees the light of day again.
Thank you, Chief. I'd also like to acknowledge, we have Lily from Congresswoman Maliataka's office. Unfortunately, the Congresswoman couldn't join us. She's in DC. We have Billy from Senator Lanza's office. Senator Lanza is still in Albany and couldn't attend. We also, and the reason why I'm acknowledging this is this shows that the NYPD is a family. We have Lieutenant Zachary here from Family Assistant, NYPD Employee Relations. Because like I said when I opened, we are a family. We are a community. I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Lee, who's a survivor of the Shield, who's here in attendance today. His son Kevin. And Mrs. Lee, I apologize. You were hiding under that hat. But the reality is, we all came here for Josette and Louis. We came here for the Carter family. We came here for our community. We battled the cold. You listened to all of us. But most importantly, you were gonna leave here knowing that we stick together. And what I ask you to do before you leave, there's a memorial right behind us. It is dedicated to Police Officer Gerard Carter. When I first moved to Staten Island, I lived right up the street, Lamport and Kramer. I used to see the members of PSA 1A all the time, wave to them. They truly lost a friend and a brother. And they will forever have us standing by their side. To the men and women in uniform and those who are still serving, thank you for everything you do each and every day. To all our retired members of the NYPD and all other law enforcement, you got the call and you came out. Thank you. So with that, I think we're going to conclude. But remember, please stop by the memorial. Look at it. Embrace it. Feel it. Thank you.